It's not a solo flight. And it's easy to say that, but I'll show you the numbers here. We think of innovation as something that we do individually. It's the Edisonian view of innovation. It's not a solo flight anymore. In fact, when you look at how these kids are innovating, it's all about collaboration. It's all about the connections. So cut the last century in half, look at the Nobel Prize in the physical sciences. In the first half of the last century, almost exclusively to individuals, all awards to individuals. In the second half of the last century, tremendous shift to team-based Nobels. What's going on? The trend is clear. When I talk to Adam, when I talk to kids around that age, that golden age of 9, 10, 11, about collaboration, about socialization, they do not care about who owns the IP. They don't care. What they care about is the experience of sharing what they know. At that golden age, it's all about sharing what you know. And the technologies are now creating a generation that has power beyond belief, beyond belief. These kids can see things, can sense things that we have to spend extraordinary time and effort to tune into. Right? They're wired in a way that makes social networking just part of their life. You ever play with these as a kid? Legos. It's the way I played with them. Big pile of Legos. They didn't even have Lego kits when I was. You just bought bricks, right? Then they went to kits, and then they went to Lego.com and Lego Factory. And I'll show you how Adam plays with Legos and what his socialization experience looks like. Because this, to me, speaks volumes for the different point of view that these kids have. So this is the way Adam creates his Lego toys. Goes on to Lego Factory, he drags and drops the toy, he builds it. It's really cool. He can build his own packaging at the end of the day. He can have it delivered to the house. So when he first started doing this at about age 7 or 8, we would have the Lego stuff delivered to the house. Then, very shortly thereafter, he stopped doing that. And I was curious as to why Adam was no longer interested in having the toy delivered. And I realized what he was doing was sharing the toy with others who would then build on top of it. For Adam, actually having the toy was less valuable than having the experience of collaboration. And he didn't know who he was working with. They could have been from anywhere around the world. It didn't matter to him. What mattered was that the value of collaboration built a more interesting toy. A toy that had complete uncertainty, that he couldn't predict, that he couldn't control. And that experience was what he found value in. These are the environments these kids are growing up with. Yeah, I asked myself the same question, right? Should I let him be on that computer 10 hours a day? I mean, yeah, it's a play date. My mother let me go out, and if I came back at night, you know, it was a good day for her. Well, Adam goes on the internet, and I understand there are all kinds of issues here dealing with safety, and, you know, we're concerned about our kids. But this is the way they play. This is their life. These are the tools that are defining their behaviors. How many of you shop at Land's End? A few? Have you built your own avatar yet on Land's End? Oh, you've got to do it. You have to do this. So one person put his hand up. So the way this works is you go to Land's End, you can create your own avatar. Now you have to define yourself. I see a few heads nodding, so you've done this. You have to define your measurements to Land's End, and you've got to be brutally honest, right? I mean, brutally honest. Because the result is you get a pair of pants cut for you that fit like no other pants you've ever worn before. I mean, just, you know, they're tailor-made for your body, but you've got to be honest. So I started using this years and years ago. The CFO at Land's End turned me on to this, and I got home right away. He gave me a login. I created my own avatar. My wife happened to notice what I was doing, and she asked if she could get online, so I got her a login. She got online. We both created our own avatars. I've got to tell you, she fudged the numbers just a little tiny bit, okay? There's a bit, I don't know, you know, I'm just saying, there's a male-female thing going on here. I'm not exactly you know, but she didn't need to fudge the numbers, but she did, okay? So I'm going to show you my avatar, not hers, because, you know, I was honest in my case. So, what? I can't see the image from here. It looks kind of like me, doesn't it? Once you've built this thing, you can share it with others. You can have like virtual dressing room experiences, really wild stuff. You can, share it with a friend so that they can kind of dress you with clothes that you might like and what have you. And the whole experience is about creating intimacy, a behavior of intimacy with the customer. Would you believe that 70% of the people who go this far will actually buy something from Land's End? 70% will actually buy something because of that intimacy. It's not about the technology, you see. It's not about the technology. It's about creating a behavior. And that's what, at the end of the day, these devices are all about. They're about creating a behavior that becomes natural. It feels natural to me. Now, clearly, if you haven't grown up with this, it's not as natural as if you have grown up with it, but I think we're all finding ourselves getting drawn into that same vortex to some degree or another. Personalization of the experience is one of the, I think, most interesting ways that marketing and consumerism is going to change, already is, but will change most radically going forward. The very last thing I want to leave you with is an image. And it is an image that really, I think, is sort of the testimonial to the one ingredient without which innovation will never happen. And to illustrate it, I'm going to use this clip from the Titanic. You remember this? If you've seen the last version of the Titanic. Just when they first spot the iceberg, right? And they called into the engine room. You know what's amazing about the Titanic? They did everything right. They did everything right. Their behaviors were appropriate. But they were appropriate for an older era of technology. Because right about here, where they're shutting the dampers, and they're shutting the dampers in order to put the screws into full astern. And the thinking was that by doing that, right there, by shutting the dampers, putting the screws into full astern, stoking the fires once again, they would gain speed and momentum and be able to steer clear of the iceberg. That's not the way it worked out. But it was the right sequence of events. For any other vessel before the Titanic, it would have worked. It didn't work for the Titanic. It was kind of like steering with anti-lock brakes and then without anti-lock brakes. The behavior has to change, right? So the way you drive today is significantly different than the way you would have driven 30 years ago because of anti-lock brakes. Same thing applied to the Titanic. When they put the screws into full astern, they lost all maneuverability. So the first officer here, I think he's saying at this point, why isn't she turning? I want you to look at his eyes. Freeze that image in your mind's eye. Do you see it? That look of uncertainty. That behavior that's stuck in the past. You got it? If you ever see this look in the eyes of leadership, get the hell out of there. This is not the look of innovation. This is a look that's stuck in time. Why isn't she turning? Says Barnes & Noble as Amazon.com blows on by. Why isn't she turning? Says Microsoft as Google blows on by. Innovation always takes us by surprise, not because we don't understand the technology, because we rarely understand the power, the magnitude, the multiplying effect of the behavior. So who said this? Charles Duell, Commissioner of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office over 100 years ago. What supreme arrogance. Everything that can be invented has. And yet, it is a constant theme. Your job, you're the visionaries. Your job is to take that lens that you have and to assume the responsibility of building a future that is survivable and to understand the importance of behavior in building that future. Thank you.